Hi Ed.
Hello, Holly. How are you doing today?
I'm alright. How are you today?
I'm good. This is the second lockdown podcast.
Yes, it is.
Mm.
Is it? Oh no, I suppose it is for you because you're not here. For me, I'm like I don't know what podcast we're on, so I
No,
think
we're
this
on.
is like the eighth or is it there?
Yeah,
Yeah, the eighth, which is a lot.
doing these
Yeah.
things.
Should we get
Have you?
into it?
Sorry.
You seem very dead today.
Well, no. Let's just say that I'm a lot more calmer.
Oh,
I'm honest to myself.
oh, okay, no problem. Um, our intros. I don't. Yeah,
I love
we need
it.
to come up with another intro. We're just like, hi, how are you?
No, don't change it. Do not change that. That's too good.
I'll let the guest introduce himself to the podcast.
Oh, okay. Hello, everyone. Ed, Holly. You can tell I do this a lot. I'm Martin Newbury. I'm a drummer, based in London. Yeah, I think that's it.
Next question was, who are you?
Oh, right.
But
Always got to be one step ahead. Yeah, no, I just freelance drummer, so play with different artists, recordings and live, and then like every musician, you do corporate work, wedding work, a little bit of teaching. Yeah, anything really, anything
Yeah.
and everything.
What was
Yeah.
that, Ed?
Nice.
Oh, all right, nice.
Martin.
Have you got a little question, Ed, before I start and kick off the questions? Have you just thought of one? Go on then.
Yeah. So, Martin, you're a drummer. Do you cater to a specific genre, or are you pretty much open to the idea of a wide range of genres?
I think I'm open to a wide range. So there's two ways of looking at it. I love all music, and I know there's such a like. Can we swear on this podcast?
Yeah.
Okay, there's such a bullshit. Everyone always goes, "Oh, I love all music," but I genuinely do. I always think if it's not my cup of tea, like thrash metal, I can appreciate it, and I'm like, that's really cool. But would I actively listen to it? Probably not. You know, but when it comes to playing and stuff, I definitely have my niche, which seems to be like singer-songwritery or like bluesy, rock, pop. I have done a few like electro indie stuff, which is cool. Actually, I'd recorded an album this year, which was like electro music, which was really cool. It was really good fun. And I have done the odd like goth electro thing. I'm not gonna lie, when I got that call, I went, okay. You do know, right? I'm not I'm not that guy. But I think it's important to be versatile on everything, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
which is why me liking lots of styles of music really helps, because even if I'm unfamiliar with how that genre works from a drum point, I can still kind of get behind it. You know, good music's good music at the end of the day, no matter what the genre is. I think that, weirdly enough, my sister taught me that when I was like a teenager, and you're being angsty and like, oh, I hate Britney Spears, so uncool, I just want to listen to Nirvana, and she's like, yeah, but it's good music, it's called pop music, it's popular. And it was only like when I went to uni, which was the ACM, which we talked about earlier, I then realised, oh yeah, just because it's pop doesn't mean it's a dirty word. You know, it's just popular. So yeah, that's a long answer. I ramble on. Please stop
That's
me.
alright. Like Ed just goes off on tangents that
I
are
can,
connected mainly, but yeah, sort of. Don't you?
I can happily and safely say that at university, going to ACM, I found that there are a wide range of. I like to think that there's a wide range of people who listen to all sorts of genres, but the only ones that seem to crop up are the ones that are mainly rock and indie.
Oh, okay. Weirdly enough, when I was at the ACM, there was a load of jazzers. So
Oh, that's completely no.
Completely changed?
Yeah, there's only a couple now.
There was a phenomenal drummer there called Graham Fox, who unfortunately is not with us anymore. But he taught a jazz like extracurricular thing for drummers, and he was just phenomenal. I never went to it because I'd done big band at college and stuff, and not saying that I'd covered jazz, like, oh, tick that one, but like I knew what I liked listening to at that point, and I was more about songwriting and singer-songwriters as opposed to jazz. Again, love listening to it. I didn't want to study it at that point, but weirdly enough, after uni, I was like, oh, I wish I'd gone to one of his. But yeah, when I was there, drum department, there was a big, there was a group in my year group, a group of drummers that did jazz. But then we had like proper metal guys who were insane. And then there was a few of us which were like down the middle, which was a bit more pop. But yeah, I think every uni, when you first go to it, there is that big divide, and then eventually, as the years go on, everyone kind of starts blending in. And
I think what it is, obviously, I guess because it's an artsy uni, and it's more, instead of like seeing drummers everywhere, you kind of mostly just see musicians.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Like guitarists and vocalists and all sorts of things, and I guess because it's a music arts uni, most of what you'll see is kind of like indie and pop. But once you start picking away at it, you will find that there are other layers, like reggae, 30s jazz, bit of soul. I was listening to some soul the other day, coming out of the Woodward buildings.
Oh man, I missed that building. Because
Yeah.
it's all completely changed from like when I was there. They had Rob Burr and Global House, which was where like the BDC.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, they don't even use that building anymore.
Oh really?
They use it for Industry Link.
So I'm guessing that's the BDC, where it's like auditions and stuff.
Yeah, but they literally, nobody goes in it. I think I've been in it once.
Oh, that's a shame.
I think because I saw Ace there once.
Weirdly enough,
and that was it. And I've only been there once.
So Ace, when I was there, it was my last year. Ace came and did like a performance masterclass, and there was a bass player tutor called Nick Preston who was just a great tutor, just really good and really supportive and everything. And he was like, "Hey, do you want to be part of the house band for Ace?" So we just played like Skunk Anansie tunes. We only had to learn 2, which was cool because I'm no like Mark Richardson. I'm not I don't hit the drums crazy hard because I can't. But yeah, it was really cool. So we were jammed with Ace. But then when I'd left, I saw that he's now like quite a big part of ACM, right?
He runs the Industry Link department, doesn't he?
He does, what is it called? ACM News now.
Yes, he does.
Okay.
He does ACM News.
Oh, News. I thought you said Muse. I was like, oh, that's a good name. I like that, Ben.
So I'll lead on from the question. Tell us about who you've worked with as a session.
Oh, okay. Nobody. Well, yeah. So currently, I've just finished an album with a band called Entity, which was the electro indie band. They're really nice guys, really cool music. So that was cool. I don't know when that will be out. And then I worked with, I still work with, but last year we finished her album, a singer called Martha St. Arthur, who actually I met at ACM. So again, going back to it, it's crazy how many people go to ACM. Totally.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, it's weird because I'm not gigging live at the moment. I've kind of but I work with a guy called William Poyer, who's a Welsh singer-songwriter, very like Americana stuff. We did a couple of singles before lockdown, which he's released through Spiritual Records. There's a really cool bar in Camden called the Spiritual Bar, and they've got their own label kind of attached to it. I worked with a singer called Lauren Ray, we've mainly done like percussion acoustic stuff with her, which is cool. So lots of cajon and shakers and foot tambourine, and you kind of get weird looks when you turn up with a massive square box and they're like, you're right. I've done like lots of one-offs and stuff. So I I worked with a guy called Tom Law, who was a YouTuber, but I went to college with him.
Okay.
So he was in my big band, well, not my big band, the college big band, and he played guitar. And then I was the year above, so I left and did my own thing, and kind of lost contact with him. But he became like this quite successful YouTube singer, singer-songwriter. And he rang me out the blue, or gave me a message, I can't remember, probably a message, and said, "Hey, I got this gig. It's for like this YouTube thing. Do you want to come and do it?" I was like, "Yeah, fine." Well, I wasn't that blasé. Like,
yeah, fine.
No, it was more like, "Yeah, I'm free." Like, the general thing. What's the fee? And he was like, "Okay, cool. Well, I'll send you the set." And then maybe 2 days later, he sent me another message and was like, "Oh, there's this girl who I know called Tessa. She's from the States. She's flying over to do it, but she can't bring her band. Would you be up for doing it? And can you find a bass player?" Now, it was all a bit lastminute.com. So trying to find a bass player like in peak season on a Saturday was like just not happening. So we ended up doing it acoustically. But that was with a girl called Tessa Violet, her career's just gone. But she was in Nashville, I think. Now she's in LA. But we've done I've done 3 gigs with her, and they've all been this Summer in the City thing, as a session guy, because she can't fly her band over. So they're really fun gigs. I really enjoy them. But it's we played Alexandra Palace once and the XL twice, which was cool.
That's cool.
It's really cool, and it's a fun gig. It's like super poppy. The last one we did, it was just me and her and track, which was really fun. It's a bit stressful because like it's all on me. I was like, but it was cool. Like we had one rehearsal the day before for like 3 hours, and we just ran the set a couple of times and iron out any arrangement things that her normal drummer would do that I didn't get that live version, or making sure the tracks fired and were lots of SPD kind of what would you like tricky SPD patch changes. We could have made it easier, I think, if we had the time, but it was a lot of like, well, it's tomorrow, so we just need to make it work, which and it did. It was I think SPD is just, it's like, well, it is drums, but it's just, it feels a bit more melodic sometimes.
And what was it I read, because we're organised and we read people's websites, was it Wayne Woodward?
Oh,
Wayne
Woodward. Yeah.
Yes. I have heard of him.
Again,
changing between whenever either of you two speak, so I have to really like really hard.
Sorry, Ed. We can hear you, so it's all right with us. Sorry.
Brilliant.
So sorry. Yes.
Yeah,
Wayne Woodward.
Yeah.
Wayne Woodward.
Wayne Woodward. Yeah. So again,
Mouthful.
a mate of mine from ACM. So
Again.
I used to hang out with Jamie loads, like, and there was a time where the flat that I had in Guildford, like I was sofa surfing basically. So I would go to friends' houses and she'd put me up for a couple of days and stuff like that. And we were really close. And she rang me. God, this was like maybe 6 years after ACM, out of the blue. We kind of lost contact as life happens. And she sent me a message and was like, or rang me and just said, "Hey, my her now husband, I think they were fiance then, is a music producer, and he's got this artist that he's working with. It's swing, it's big band stuff. Would you be up for doing it, and can you do it?" I was like, "Yeah, I haven't played like big band in ages." And weirdly enough, well, because Jamie went to ACM, quite a lot of the band was ACM. So there was a guy called Adam Russ, who was on keys. I think Russ, is that his last name? Oh, maybe, yeah. Adam on keys. He's a wicked keys player, and he's doing great stuff like in the pop world. And a guy called Bobby Quigley on guitar, and then there was Nathan on bass, and I've forgotten like Nathan's last names. But so we ended up doing that, and we did a couple of gigs. But he was a finalist from Britain's Got Talent, I believe.
I think he came second.
Yeah.
From my memory.
I think it was a magician who came first, because
Yeah.
a friend of mine actually did a show called The Illusionist, which was like a West End thing, and I think that the winner was in that. I think. It's such a small world when you like break it down, like this industry. But yeah, so I got that gig, which was really fun, because yeah, Wayne's a really nice guy, like wicked, and Jay, his producer, and I think he was managing. I want to say he was a manager as well for Wayne. I'd never really met Jay through Jamie because they weren't seeing each other when we were at uni, so it was really cool to hang out with him, and he's a lovely guy. But yeah, it was just that was just a couple of gigs. One of them was, I want to say it was like Slimming World's annual or Weight Watchers. It was at the ICC in Birmingham.
They're actually really big though, aren't they? Like they
No pun intended.
Like, no pun intended.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I've seen on pictures on the Slimming World, because I have friends that went there.
Yeah.
And they've posted that they've been.
Oh,
And it's like massive.
Yeah,
like
it was
the whole
huge.
It's
I thought
big.
when they said,
deal.
it's at the ICC in Birmingham, I thought, cool, we'll be in like a conference hall, because you know these big arenas always have like the little conference rooms. I was like, sweet, cool. How much is it? Yeah, fine. I can do that. But yeah, we turned up and they were like, oh no, you're in gate whatever, and turned up and it was like the big loading bay, and I'm there with my little car with the trumpet player in it, no sax player, with all my drums in the back, and I was like, oh, we're loading through here. Okay, cool. Yeah, and it was the big room. It was like a really big deal. What always makes me laugh about that gig is that specific gig was the food we were given was like the most unhealthy food ever.
And it was for
And it was
Slimming
for,
World or
yeah.
Weight Watchers.
I mean,
Yeah.
I couldn't eat anymore, and there was like mountains. But I don't think the people who were there for the event got that. I think they just went, oh, the band want food, so they just gave us like curry, chocolate cake. I think was there. I mean, annoyingly, I'd eaten before I came in, like loaded in. Otherwise, I would have properly filled up. But yeah, no, that was a fun gig, and it was just a different mindset, because it's swing and brushes. But he had a few of his original songs in there which were quite poppy. And they're really good actually. I really like them.
He is very good. Ed,
Yeah.
you should actually Google him.
Yes.
I don't think he's up to much at the moment.
No, he what was it? He did do an album,
Oh, did
but
he?
I can't remember when he released the album, and if it was like 2018.
Yeah, that was
maybe?
probably around the time we
Yeah.
did stuff. Yeah.
So I think it was his album. Is it an album or an EP? Either or. It's
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah, he's
It's very good.
he's a really lovely guy. Like, his voice is wicked. Because I think I didn't know anything about Britain's Got Talent. I just, it was sold to me as there's this guy who who needs a drummer. Yeah. So it was only when I think I said to my mum, who like watches that kind of stuff, oh, I've got this
Oh my
gig.
god, he's
Well, she's like, oh, is he the guy who sings like Sinatra stuff, but sounds like Danny Dyer? That was kind of his, like when he speaks, And I was like, yeah. But no, he's a lovely guy. He's really cool, and like he was just really sweet, and just, super happy to just have like a live band, I think. So,
And that leads on from my next question.
oh, nice.
How do you obviously remotely at the moment? We're doing everything, unfortunately. How are you finding doing things with clients remotely?
So, luckily, the studio stuff we did it when we were allowed to go back into studios, and we could really lovely big studios we were in, so everyone could keep the distance and stuff. But to be honest, my diary started disappearing around the week of the first lockdown. So I kind of went, do you know what? I was working with acoustic duo, which I gig in London with quite a bit, but we do, or they do, a lot of the sort of fancy cocktail bars and hotels. And they wanted to do some promo which showcased like a bit more of a fuller band, but like upright bass, percussion and stuff. They were like, can you record from home? And I was like, well, yeah. And I had the money, so I went out and bought a Focusrite. I had like a 57, and I had like mics for when I go out gigging, like a D6 for the kick drum and a 57, which I hate actually. I don't like a 57. It just never sounded nice on the cajon. So I bought an Aston Origin, put it up as an overhead, and to be honest, when I did like a mix myself, I went with the Aston. The 57, like as a close mic next to the cajon, just made the cajon sound shit. Like really like you're hitting a box, which I know is what you are doing, but you don't want it to sound like that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I went and bought like a couple of Origins, and they work really well with brushes on snare drum because they can kind of take the
Martin, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Just talk about mic techniques there. So,
His
obviously,
face.
so you know, you were talking about recording from home.
Yeah.
This duo. Is there any particular mic techniques that you favour for miking up drums?
So I'm not gonna lie, I can't record drums from my house because I live in a flat in London, so it's just not happening. So the only things that I've learned when I was at college back in Cornwall, I did music tech, so I got like the basic idea of like where to place mics and stuff. And from doing like going to studios, just by watching engineers and how they mic stuff, because each engineer or producer is so it's similar, but it's different. And then you go, oh, actually, I like that sound. And like the little tricks. Now, I've been lucky, some of the studios I've played in, like the mics they put on the kit are 50 grand to 100. You know, it's like a lot of money. I don't have that money, especially now. But you look at like, okay, well, they're using like a large condenser mic or large diaphragm condenser mic. That would work. And yeah, I've got friends like my mate Danny, who owns a studio down in Greyshot. Like, I'll ring him and be like, "Hey, mate, what do I do?" And he'll be like, "It's okay, calm down, but like maybe try it at this angle." So to be honest, it's trial and error from my point, and then I might send Danny a mix and be like, "Hey, does this sound? It sounds good to me, but like as a producer / engineer."
Their opinion.
Yeah. And like the first time he sent it to me was like, I sent it to him. I was like, yeah, the signal's kind of, you know, it's not going into the yellow too much. It's like, yeah, maybe like don't like back it off a bit next time. I ended up just redoing it because I had time. It was lockdown. There was nothing going on. Like, so I was like, you know, I'll just redo it so it's all an equal level for everyone. So, because I wasn't mixing a lot of the stuff that I send, I don't mix. I just send them like the dry raw files.
The raw of the stems, yeah.
Yeah, and then, because I can't see I can hear what I think reverb wise, or like maybe a bit of compression, how I would EQ it, but I can't then justify, like I can't see what their vision is. So I just send them that, and then they can add in whatever they want, and they know the project better than I do when I'm doing it remotely.
I suppose another way to look at sort of sending your files to someone else to see if they can spot out anything in particular is, I guess if you listen to something, or if you know you're used to playing something and you record it in, you're so sick of hearing it and you know what it sounds like, so your ears become pretty deaf to those particular frequencies and anything that sounds out of place. So it is actually quite hard to pick at things that doesn't
totally.
Recording.
I think because I was only recording percussion, that I used 3-4 mics when I used. So one of the setups was cajon, snare drum. So I had like an Aston as an overhead, a close mic for the snare to pick up the brushes, and then I kept the 57 on the cajon mic, even though I wasn't actually playing it with my hands. I was just playing it with like a kick drum pedal, but it was giving somebody. I'm aware I keep peeking when I go buh. I need to stop doing that.
But
I was just so I wanted to give them that option because it's always frustrating. It's like my sister does a bit of, used to do a lot of editing for surf footage and things like that, and it's that thing of you want more footage than you actually need, because you can always take away, you can never try, it's hard to like fill a gap. So when I sent off the stems, I was like, I'm pretty sure they're not going to use that 57. It's just it's pretty much a dead mic, but if they want to use it because they want maybe a bit more of an attack from the front of the cajon as opposed to the subbiness at the back, cool, they've got it. I think it's just that, really.
And also, I think that when people walk in to a studio, and because it annoys me that when you walk into a session and every single mic is mic'd up to every single thing.
Yeah.
For me, I'm quite simplistic.
Yeah.
And I know that I like the mics overheads in a certain place, and I know that I like the kick mic there, and I like X and Y, Ed, thank you, X and Y. I'm upset, but I have a specific way of how I like to do it. And then when you say to the drummer, there you go.
Yeah.
That set up, and then I'll work around you.
Yeah.
And then they look at me like I'm mad because I'm doing 4 mics, and usually people do what? Oh God, like 16 maybe.
It depends.
And I'm like, nah, we don't need that, especially because we've done drums in this room. Don't need that.
No.
Because that's ridiculous. Like,
Holly, that people back in the 30s, they didn't have all of those inputs to pick from.
They
and
did
they,
not.
No, it's true.
No, they did not.
It's true.
Just have one microphone in the middle of the room, and then just place the musicians around it with the vocalist and the drummer at the back.
Yeah, because they used to record
To be honest, that's
everything
where
live.
the drummer should be.
Yeah.
I think with mics as well. I mean, look, I'm not gonna pretend that I'm an engineer, but lockdown has made me kind of sit and research stuff, like actually sit and go, okay. There's a really good YouTube series by like a British guy. He lives in LA. I forgot what his name is, but he talks about like mic placement and stuff. I'll find the link and send it to you. It's like really cool. Glenn, I think he's called Glenn somebody. Anyway, he does a lot of videos where he'll get like big LA session drummers in and chat about just the mics and why, but have the drummer in the room whilst he's talking about it. So like there's one with a guy called Blair Sinter who's played for Alanis Morissette back in the day but has his own studio, but they took him into this nice big one in LA, and Blair's like, because he has his own studio, he has a really good knowledge of like, first of all, mics and what mics work well, but also what mics work well with what gear he's got, and vice versa. Like if he brings a certain kick drum in, knowing maybe that Yamaha sub kick is not the right sub kick, maybe like a Solomon or like a homemade thing. And
also that's why I like using, like we use the same gear for the same stuff. We know what gear that we've got, so we know how the technicalities of our gear work, so we can figure out how to solve a problem because we know the gear. If we're in a completely different studio with like none of our gear, we're like, I'm automatically like, I'm uneased. Because you've got to now think doubly hard of like trying to adjust the requirements, if that makes sense.
I mean,
sorry, Eddie.
I think equally it's important to be able to use other equipment rather than just sticking to one thing, obviously.
Yeah.
But I naturally believe that most of like these 2 or 4 input audio interfaces, they're all the same, to be honest. I mean, quality-wise, they're all the same. They all use the same components internally. They all produce the same level of sound, quality of sound. And unless you're buying something that's actually meant for a studio, like one of those massive rack-mounted things with loads of different inputs and 32 inputs, 32 outputs, and all sorts of things like that, then that's where the real buck actually lies.
Saying that though, Ed, do you not remember the time when we walked into this room and I did not bring the interface that we usually work with? We got 3 interfaces because they all didn't work. And we wasted an hour and a half because all these 3 interfaces did not work.
Oh,
and that's the one time we did not bring the interface that we usually use.
Yeah.
So
I'm a firm believer of bringing like
interface, Holly.
I think Ed, you're totally right. Like it's really important. And again, this is kind of coming from the playing side of stuff, but knowing your gear and knowing how to get a sound out of that gear. So I was saying to you before we started recording this, I have a bit of a snare drum addiction. I'm not crazy, like as in there are guys who have like 50 snare drums, but if I had the money and my fiance would let me, I would buy a lot more. But she's definitely said, if you're gonna do it, it's got to go in a storage unit somewhere, which is fine. I'm totally happy with that. But the snare drums that I've got, they all do different things. Yes, I could like they're all different materials and stuff like that, and I could have, for instance, I could get like a Ludwig like Acrylite and a Black Beauty and all of this, like all the different models, like the 400, the 402. I think if you can have like maybe a smaller collection of gear and know how to manipulate it to get that same sound, even if it's not exact, but like a really, really close representation. So there was a manager of a band that I was working with, and he was like, "Oh, have you got a Ludwig Black Beauty?" And I was like, "I don't. I have a brass snare, and it sounds really close to it." And he was like, "Oh, I don't know." And then we set it up and we played it, and he was like, "I love it. You have to use that snare." So I was like, "Okay, cool." But I think, yeah, I mean, every time I go to a studio, I always usually I tailor the gear to what the song is.
Yeah.
That's if I get it in advance, or like the producer's gone, "Hey, we're looking for like this really bombastic kind of industrial sound." I'm like, "Cool." Well, that rules out that big, fat, nice, deep snare drum, really. So I'll know to take like a brass snare and a steel snare, stuff which is gonna like be a sucker punch to the face, or like blend nicely. But saying that, every time there's one snare drum I own, and we always use it, and it's across like, it's just a maple snare drum, and it's just tuned a certain way. And the last 3 or 4 producers that I've worked with over the last year, like, have always gone, "Just use that." We've like A and B'd them, and they've gone that. So, but it's I think it goes back to being able to know your gear, to manipulate it, to get what they want, but give them enough choices that, you know, you can be multifaceted, you know, because it's the same with like playing live. I can't use my drums all the time. It's just, you know,
have to use a house kit.
A house kit, and like there's certain house kits, I won't name venues, and they go, "Yeah, we got backline," and every drummer knows this. "Yeah, we got backline." You're like, "Oh, sweet, cool. I'll just get the tube," and then you turn up with your breakables, and this is where being prepared comes in. Always carry like cymbal felts, cymbal washers, hi-hat clutches, like even 2 of each, like 2 hi-hat clutches, a set of 4, so like 8 of each, you know, cymbal washers and stuff. Spare wing nuts, Allen key. Like my cymbal bag, I've taken out the front pocket, which is meant to be for like hi-hats and splashes. It's full of XLRs, jacks, shakers, things which when you turn up to a house kit, you're like, oh.
Yeah, because every time we went anywhere, like, because instead of we usually use this studio, but we use like 2 others somewhere else. And I always thought, oh, it'd be fine because, you know, if people have like a set of pliers. No, they don't. So I've got to literally take pliers with me to try and get like everything off. It's mad. It is mad. But
I mean, I remember turning up to one venue and they were like, "Yeah, we got backline, we got hardware." Because to be honest, like that's kind of the main thing. Like the drum shells, if you know how to manipulate them by tuning, which is really important. I don't think enough drummers and producers know how to tune drums, like to what they want to hear. It's not like you can tune to a pitch, but it's a bit more into it than tuning the guitar. But
I agree. Actually, it's really important to sort of carry this type of. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a producer or a musician or a songwriter. You have to make sure that you have maybe like a little screwdriver set, little toolbox of some pliers, things like jack leads. I mean, like, actually, what I will say is that it does start you up for life. You know.
Sorry, we interrupt. Yeah.
No,
what was the question?
I don't know. So you're both production.
We are, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you? I suppose this. Do you focus more on recording music as opposed to front of house live engineering and stuff?
Yes. So, Ed, I'll repeat that question so you can hear it. So, we focus. Ed, what we do, yes, on production, studio, recording bands and stuff like that. We don't do like live gigs and stuff.
To my knowledge, we haven't done any live gigs.
Unless, no, we definitely haven't. No.
So what made you think you'd rather do production, studio-based stuff as opposed to front of house engineering?
I prefer recording.
Yeah.
And also the pressure of live is. I just don't think I could deal with the. Oh my God, like that horrible feedback thing.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be responsible because I used to do a lot of live before.
Right.
And I've had moments like, and then I had to apologise. Sorry, everyone, sorry. And I don't like it. I just.
You say that, but I come from a live sound engineer.
Okay.
Background as well. I used to work. I don't know if you'll know this place, Martin, but it's called the Screen Lounge in Croydon.
No, I don't.
That doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, okay.
It was part of it was part of like a massive studio space.
Right.
You'd do like live gigs and stuff with like little indie bands that they had. And I worked there for about 6 months, just as a live sound engineer, and then I worked very briefly in this place called The Odd Shoe. It was a pub, and I was hired for every Wednesday as their sound engineer. They used to do like these jams and stuff, and I'd encounter problems because it would be the in-house equipment that I'd be using. And I guess one of the things you have to think about is when you are a live sound engineer is that people are idiots and they love touching. It'd be a microphone, a vocalist picking up a microphone, swinging it around, moving it, just very sort of like weird, turning up an amplifier. Unfortunately, it does happen, and it's a very stressful situation to be in.
And the best one is, Ed, is when somebody, a singer, points the mic down to an amp, and that's the most horrendous sound, and you're like, why have you done that?
Yeah, it's true.
And you're like, and you just like get that roll-eyed moment, and you're like, oh, God's sake.
But going back to it though, that's knowing your gear. Even if it's not your gear, singers or people who use microphones,
they should know
don't do that.
They should know not to
or
do that.
Or guitarists going, if the sound engineer has said.
Unfortunately for me and Ollie, we've had that a couple of times with some previous clients where they probably very mistakenly, moved or adjusted stuff.
Yeah.
And then wonder why things don't sound as nice as they should do.
Because they've turned up
the
treble or something like that. And
it's true. Like, guitarists turning amps up because they want to feel the air moving. But from where you are,
it's like, no, it's too much. Yeah, it's too much.
It's too much.
We
and
don't need that at the moment. Yeah, we just need it dry.
Yeah. And I think as a performer, you need to trust that front of house person that they're doing. It's what you're playing is being represented properly. So there's a lot of, and again, so that's communication. Going back to it, like communicating with the front of house and being like, if they say, don't turn your amp up, kind of having a bit of a back and forth, being like, can I turn up a bit? Because up here it sounds dead. And when the wedges, if we're using wedges, aren't kicking enough back, or my monitors I'm not really hearing stuff. Sound engineers will work with you. I think what tends to happen is sound engineers get a bad rap because people just turn stuff up without asking.
Yeah, and then they're to blame.
They're annoyed.
And they're like, well, that it's their fault. And it's like, well, no, because you came over and you touched it. So technically, it's you.
The one thing I'd say about...
At the end of the day, it's common politeness.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to be stupid enough to go on stage as a musician and then whilst someone else is getting their sound check, start playing because you know that that's just going to piss off
Interfere.
the sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just also going up and introducing yourself. The amount of times that I've been either on a bill of bands and I'll be there setting my gear up side stage, or like in basically where the audience are going to be if it's a small club gig, and a band will walk in and they won't introduce themselves to anybody who looks like they're part of the venue, or I don't know, the sound guy who's behind the desk.
Do you think that's nerves?
I think it is,
And
but
they
I
just
think
want to get in and just
Yeah.
do it and set everything up.
because I
and-
think there's been a few times where when I first started out, when I was like 15, 16, and I remember playing the White Rabbit in Plymouth, which was, I mean, it was a shit gig. They didn't even turn the TV off when we were playing. It was like a rock venue, so it was a really cool rock venue apparently in Plymouth. I say apparently, I was like 15, didn't go. But we played a Sunday afternoon, and I was shit scared. But they didn't turn the TV off, so there was like MTV in the background, and we're trying to sound check, and I've been told by the venue, oh, you just got to bring your cymbals, and I turn up and the drummer dismantles the whole drum kit apart from a kick drum. I'm like, oh, can I
use
can
your
I
stuff.
use your...
Yeah.
And she got really shirty with me, rightly so, because she told the venue. It all comes down to communication, or a lack of it. So when you go to a venue, even if you are shit scared, they're a sound guy. They'd just be like,
You need to say hello.
yeah, hi, oh, I'm playing with such and such.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and then they'll be like, cool. They may be a bit short because you've caught them mid trying to sound check another band, but that's okay. Just don't take it personally. Just be like, okay, cool. Well, I'll just be sat over here. Let us know when we're ready, you know, or when you're ready, or, you know.
See, the thing, well, that's it. I mean, well, we've just gone full circle then, because it all come back to communication.
It is all about
Yeah,
communication.
communication.
Yeah.
I think this industry...
That's the title of the podcast, I think.
Yeah.
Communication.
But I think this industry, like, you just have to be, a nice person, be good at what you do. But that's kind of like, it has to be, that's the unwritten, like, rule. You've just got to be good. Like, but just be nice and just communicate with people. The amount of times if there's been an issue, not necessarily with a gig that I'm on, but like other life situations where someone's pissed off with somebody else, it comes down from that person or those people not saying, hey, I'm a little bit, this isn't how I want things to go, can we talk about it? Or like on a gig, communication with your sound guy, because when you tour, like, you might have a front of house guy, but you might not have a monitor guy. So building up a rapport with a monitor guy or front of house guy, or even the members of the band, the amount of gigs I've done where I've turned up to play a wedding and I've never met the band. You have to be like, they are your mates, don't get me wrong, like, as long as they're all lovely people, that's fine. But turning up, parking up, setting the drums up, oh, you're playing bass tonight, oh, lovely to meet you, man, like, and you just have a chat. And that goes back to, just being approachable, communicating well. I think sometimes there's people think if you're direct with somebody, you're being an asshole.
Yeah.
Where it's not the case.
But it's not. Yeah.
You can be direct but polite about it. I'm a firm believer of that.
Literally, I could talk all day, but
Yeah,
literally,
me too.
I'm like, we've gone like an hour. And
Oh, I mean.
yeah, it didn't feel like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was very nice for you.
Oh,
to
well, thanks
come
for
and
having
talk
me
to
come
us.
and chat. Like,
But
it was a
yes.
pleasure. Like,
But yeah, I'm just conscious of time because we've got another wonderful podcast to record after this as
Oh,
well.
nice.
Yeah, so
Oh,
we're doing
sick.
2 back to back. So yeah.
China.
But no, it was. We could talk all day, and
Well,
we probably
anytime.
will actually when I press stop, and then you can just still talk to me, and then I'll just save everything, so that'll be fine.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
thank you so much.
No,
for
thank you,
coming on
and lovely
chatting
to
to us.
meet you, Ed, virtually. Hopefully, at some point it'll be
So
soon.
much for coming on. It's been a delight.
Oh,
Oh.
thank you. Likewise.
End it here, Holly.
Yeah.
End it. Be like, that's it. Yes. Bye.
Bye.